Hi everybody, and thank you for joining me today. So continuing to work on the peahen's wing feathers. I have not got to her chest or belly area yet. That'll probably be another week or so, I would think, yeah. I didn't get very much stitching done since last time, just, yeah, was busy with stuff. Oh, my goodness, pardon me. Yeah, it's back to the routine, which means getting up earlier, so yeah, I'm a bit tired. I may yawn a lot, we'll see. But yeah, I chose to sort of start with this shape last time, and now I'm kind of continuing to fill in around it. I could have started from the top down, but I just didn't because I just didn't. I could have, but I chose to just do things a little differently. Yeah. Today is nice and bright and sunny. We got lots of good natural light to stitch by, but yeah, it is cold. We have an extreme cold warning with the wind chill. It's below -40, so yeah. Brr. Yeah, got the block heaters on. I told my kiddo to run his car a little bit at lunchtime just to make sure, because yeah, we don't want it to be unable to start. That would really suck. Although worst case scenario, we said he leaves his car there at school overnight if he has to, because mine still runs. But yeah, because yeah, we had one time my husband was away and we just had my car. This was before we bought the Jeep, and so yeah, I drove him to school and dropped him off because yeah, we said if that car battery freezes and dies, then we have no transportation at all, and we really don't want that. So yeah, but it should be okay, I hope. Yeah. As I can see here, this is going to be a lot of color switching back and forth. Yeah, this is a fairly confetti heavy area, so yeah. See how much I get done in approximately an hour. That's generally how long I stitch for. Hour 10, yeah. I try to go longer when I can because people enjoy the longer sessions, so. But yeah, sometimes things just don't work out that way, so. Okay. Yeah, so we sent off our paperwork for the passports to be done. Yeah. So kids' passports, they last 5 years because, of course, you know, kids change a lot, so they want their pictures to match them kind of thing. Adults get to have up to 10-year passport. But now that he's 17, yeah, they said at this point they don't renew for 5 years. For kids, he has to actually apply for a new adult passport. So, yeah, which is a little bit more paperwork, but at least now that means he'll be good for 10 years, I said. And then after that, it's your responsibility, yeah, because you won't still be living with us by then, I shouldn't think. Yeah, it was a bit of a gong show because we went and got the photos taken at the pharmacy, and the year stamp that they put on it was like very slightly smudged, and it was enough that you could still read it. You could still read that it said it had been taken, you know, 2025, but yeah, the lady said that it was iffy and we needed to take them back to either restamp it, which they tried, but again, it was smudgy again, so they had to retake our pictures, so yeah. But they didn't charge us for it, yeah. they said as long as you had a receipt, if there was anything wrong, just come back and they will make it right. So, but yeah. Yeah, it was also kind of interesting because, so applying for his new one, they said that if you were not born in Canada between certain years, you would need to provide proof of Canadian citizenship. It was between 77 and I think 85, something like that. And yeah, so we said my husband was lucky because he was 1 year out. He was born in 76, so he didn't have to provide. But his brother, who was born 1 year after him, would have to, yeah, when applying for a... Yeah, I said it was kind of interesting because, yeah, like we had to include where he was born, which was in Hungary, and we didn't have to provide his citizenship papers. We have them, but yeah, we didn't need to show them. I'm not sure if we had to show them last time around or not, because we were just renewing ours, so that's why we didn't have to this time. But yeah, my husband said, I don't know why it's those specific years. Like maybe there's somebody they're trying to catch, you know, some high value target. I don't know, but yeah. Because I said you would think it would be a blanket thing for everyone. If you're not born in the country, you have to prove that you have citizenship, but it was only certain years, so yeah. Yeah, it was interesting too, because they said they're releasing the results. They recently released all the information from the Canada's General Census, which was, I think, 1933, something like that. But so it was like, you know, oh, go look up people in your family tree. And I'm like, well, I actually can't because my family has not been on either side in Canada that long. Yeah, my grandparents came here as children during the London Blitz. Yeah, they had a refugee program for, so they came from England then. So yeah. But yeah, saying about my husband being born in Hungary, that made a bit of a thing with paperwork when we got married, because for the church paperwork, you need to have your baptism certificate sort of reissued. Basically, after that, it shows all the other sacraments that you've had done since. I'm not exactly sure why, but it was a requirement. Well, because his was in Hungarian, we had to go, and his mom like translated it, but like we had to actually go and pay like an official translator to translate it, because of course, you know, if it's just you doing it, they don't know if you're actually saying what's on the paper, right? So you had to get it certified, yeah, through a certified translator. So yeah, that was an extra hoop to jump through. Yeah, you couldn't present just your original baptism certificate. So yeah, there were times we said, man, we should have just eloped. Yeah. Oh. Yeah, so like I said, I'm a little tired today, so if I talk a little less, that's why. I think, yeah, that was slightly off. Yeah, when I was bringing the needle back up through, there was too much resistance on it, which usually means that I pierced the fabric instead of getting it in the pre-made little hole for it. Yeah, I only stitch on Aida, so might be different when you stitch on something else. Yeah, even weave apparently can be a little bit trickier because of the way it's woven. Stitches can slip underneath. Yeah. So you have to kind of alter your stitching a little bit to avoid that, but yeah. I've always stitched on Aida and I like it, so I don't feel like changing it now. Well, especially with a full coverage piece too, like people say, you know. I mean, I can understand if you're not going to use a mat and you don't want to be able to see the holes, kind of, if you look up close when you're framing it, that makes sense. But yeah, if you're going to cover it all with a mat, then it seems like a bit of extra work. Oh my. Yeah, let's try not to sew threads together that are not meant to be sewn together. Yeah, so right about here is where the lighter colors are coming in. So I am stitching sort of all along that up to that point for now, and then I will pack these colors away and start with her lighter colors on her chest and belly, the little bit of the bright blue and then some pale colors. So yeah, I did the calculations. I've been managing about 100,000 stitches per year. So, like I said, if that holds true, then I will not be done by the end of 2025 because I have over 100,000 stitches left to go. So yeah, as you can see, I don't go perfectly row by row, but as I often say, I like to stitch without leaving stitches that are floating, so they need to be connected on at least one side, and I try not to close in on all four. So I find that this goes a little bit faster than when I was trying to sort of go more row by row and not leave any that were sort of surrounded on three sides, because that happens sometimes. But I found that this is a little faster but still remains neat, which was my big reason for stitching this way. And again, I make fewer counting errors because, yeah, when I start doing stitches that are off floating and not connected to others, that's when I start miscounting more. And then that slows me down because then I gotta fix it or figure out if I can fudge it. So yeah. So yeah, it's kind of a balance between the two things for me. All right. So yeah, I have a whole whack ton of colors here, but I'm gonna slowly start thinning them out. Okay. Just double checking with my grid lines there. So yeah, like I said, I could have built up from there, but I just didn't feel like it. Sort of found building up from here, sort of, it was a little less confetti heavy at first, so yeah, I have to be careful where I'm pin stitching here because these are pale colors coming up, so I only stitch where I know it's dark enough. These will be sufficiently covered up. Ooh, I hate when I do it there. Sort of one of the little ends was kind of poking up where I did the pin stitch. Okay. Yeah, so 2/3 will be 66%. I am not going to get to that this month, I don't think. I'm at 61 now, so I might get to it by the end of March, but I'm not going to make that a goal. We will see. It's possible because I've been managing about 2.5% to 3% per month, sort of depending on how much confetti there is and, of course, how much time I have to stitch. February is a shorter month, so there's that too. It is not a leap year because it's not a year divisible by 4. That's how I remember it. Okay. Is a longer carry. It's sort of right borderline for how far I like to carry a thread. Because I say about an inch maximum, and like this is like 16 stitches, and I'm stitching on 14 counts, so that is over an inch. So yeah, I am going to tie this off then. Close, but it is a bit more than I want to carry it. I find if I leave longer threads on the back, sometimes I catch them with my finger while I'm stitching and it pulls and distorts. Sometimes it even unparks the thread, and then I'm left going, which color is this? So yeah. Okay, so I am going to have one thread that's parked here carrying that way. I'm going to do another thread at the top there. I probably have a medium piece left over. Yeah. We shall see. I don't actually, but that's okay. Start a longer one up there, and I'll save the leftover bits for later. Oh dear. If I could get these to come apart, that is. Yeah, so kiddo has started his last semester of classes. Yeah, so he still has a spare, but it's not at the beginning of the day, so he can't quite laze around as much in the morning. But yeah, I don't have to bug him. He's old enough now that, yeah, he can do it himself. He can drive himself and all that, so yeah, it's really nice. I just wake him up in the morning, and then the rest is his responsibility. Yeah, because so I said at this age, yeah, you need to learn to manage your own time properly. I certainly was at this age, so. Because, yeah, like I said, he's going to be 18, end of March. Yeah, we're going to get the proofs for his grad photos. Hopefully they should turn out okay. I had him practice his smiling in the mirror for like a couple of months because, yeah, his school pictures, he looked fairly awkward. So the older he gets, the more awkward he gets in pictures, which, I mean, tends to happen, right? Kids are, when they're little, they're really not that self-conscious, right? When they get older, they figure out that, yeah. Because I said, you know, think of something funny, because I said that can really help with the natural smile. As I said, you have a lovely smile when you're not trying to force it. Yeah, we have a funny picture that was like from grade 6 or something. We call it the angry face picture because, yeah, he's like grimacing almost in it or whatever. He's like, well, I thought it was a smile. I'm like, well, it's not. Oh, silly goof. Yeah, like they had that on Friends, right, Chandler? Yeah, trying to take a picture, and he can smile just fine till he imagines there's a camera, and then it's the, yeah, awkward grimace. But, yeah, well, they had more than a minute than they do with, like, the school pictures, right? Yeah, they each got 10 minutes with the professional photographer, so I guess they have lots of practice. My husband went with him, so he said he looked pretty good, so yeah. Because I said, yeah, if you can't get a decent smile, we can just take a serious face picture, you know. Looking dignified, that'll work too. So yeah, they're going to send that home. We get to order pictures, and also we get to pick which one goes in the yearbook. Yeah, and they want us to send in a baby picture as well, because there's going to be a little slideshow during the grad ceremonies, right? It'll have their baby picture and the grad picture next to each other. Yeah, so they don't get a prom at this school. Yeah, it's just a grad ceremony and sort of a bit of a little reception afterwards kind of thing, but not an actual prom. Yeah, which I was surprised. I went to a very small school, but we did have a prom. If I remember correctly, I think our prom might have combined with another school's grad class, because there was like 30 of us. So like I said, we weren't big a school. Like I think we were about 500 students. So yeah, it was not a big grad class. It was actually kind of nice because I remember before we moved, I was in band, and we got to play for the graduation ceremonies for the seniors, and I was in grade, I think, 9, 10, maybe. And yeah, that was a big school of several thousand students. So there was like 300 grads, so that was a very long, yeah, like a few hours just for everybody to get their moment of, you know, walking across the stage, getting their diploma, shaking the principal's hand and getting a photo snapped. And yeah, it was, so I remember when they got to the last person, there was lots of cheering. I thought, oh, is it like, because they have a lot of friends, or is everybody cheering because, yay, it's over? Oh, dear. Yeah. But yeah, my son's grad class at this school is a little bit bigger, but not as big as that one school I went to. Yeah, I remember that was my first high school. We moved a lot, so yeah, I went to like 13 different schools between kindergarten and graduation. So yeah, but yeah, I remember they built that school because all the schools were so overcrowded, and they built it for like 1,500 students, but by the third year, it was already over capacity. Yeah, this was in Nanaimo on Vancouver Island, and Yeah, there was like basically every school I went with had the temporary portable classrooms that were there for, 10 years kind of thing. Yeah. It's temporary until we can add to the school, but yeah, it did not happen. There were some schools, I swear, they had more portables than they did classrooms in the actual school. I don't know, I guess when they built it, the population did not have as many children per capita, or not as many people, I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, we moved all the time. I think because my dad had undiagnosed ADHD at the time, and so it was always a new job, a new opportunity to go to. Yeah. Yeah, he got diagnosed as an adult, but they said, yeah, that's pretty common, but yeah. I hated it. Like, a lot of times we would go to a school for 1 year and then move again. And I remember after I was in grade 3 or 4 thinking, I don't know if I should even bother trying to make friends because we're just going to move again, Oh, it was really frustrating, yeah. And plus, my parents tried French immersion for me for a couple of weeks, but I didn't like it, so they took me out and put me back in the English school, the regular school. It was funny, I didn't like it because we learned the word pajamas, which in French is pyjama, so then everyone called me pyjama, right? Because my name's Gemma, so yes. And I was in, like grade 1, so I was very sensitive about it. Yeah, now I would just laugh it off, but yeah, at the time it really teed me off, so. Yeah, I kind of wish now that I had, stuck it out, because then I'd probably be fluent in French by now, right? Yeah. It's a lot easier to learn when you're that age. Yeah. We started learning French when I was in grade 6, I think. So, yeah, like they say, before the age of 10 is much, much easier to learn a new language. And, yeah, so we didn't start learning any French till I was like 12. And so, yeah, it's harder then. And plus, like, obviously being immersed in that language all day long is the fastest way to learn, right? Like they said, you can take classes, but there's really no substitute for being immersed in that language. Like that's why they often will have exchange students, right? Will actually go to the other country to live with a host family, because yes, if they only speak that language, you have to pick it up very quickly, right? And the more exposure you get to it, the better, because they say, yeah, it takes, I think they said like 5,000 hours or something of hearing a language, because that's about the age when babies start learning to talk, right? Is because they're surrounded by people speaking. And yeah. So I remember my French teacher would say because our cable packages always included at least one French channel, so he would say, like, turn it on and just have it on in the background even, and that can help increase, the number of hours you hear it. But yeah, apparently they said that is important, but that there's only so much you can learn via passive listening, so yeah. But yeah, I remember because Canada, 2 official languages, right? So yeah, every cable package included at least one French channel. For us, it was channel 7. And I didn't know that a lot of the movies there were originally filmed in English and dubbed in French. And obviously the the lip sync is not going to match because they're actually saying different words, right? But I didn't know that. And so I remember when I was like 6 or 7 asking my dad how French people speak when their mouths aren't moving, because usually saying something in French takes more words than saying something in English. Yeah. So, yeah, it was quite funny. And then my dad's like, well, no, that's because when they filmed it, they were speaking English. It's like, oh, I didn't realize that. Yeah, it was dubbed over because, well, you're a kid, right? You don't know any better. But they said that is one good way to learn, is to have something with the spoken is the language you're trying to learn, and have the subtitles turned on in the language you know. And that can kind of help your brain to match it up. And if it's capable of watching it on a slightly slower speed, that can help too. Yeah, because I do that sometimes. I was trying to learn some Hungarian. Still am, although not as intensely, but yeah. There's one channel that has some children's stories with pictures, and you can turn on English subtitles and a spoken is Hungarian and watch it like 3/4 speed, and that can kind of help, yeah. But yeah, I said to my husband, wow, I wish your family was like French, because that would have been easier for me to learn. I had some instruction in it. Yeah, my speaking it is not so good. But I said reading it or hearing it, I can usually pick up enough to get the gist of what someone is saying. They said, yeah, speaking it is the hardest because you need to know more words than if you're listening to it, where if you catch like 1/3 of them, you're usually able to decipher what they meant. But yeah, trying to say it is a lot harder. Yeah, so like I said, right past these sort of target ones that are the light brown, right past that is where I can see the paler colors are coming in there. So we're going to stitch up to those, but not stitch those yet. I will probably do all the darker colors of the wing, and then I might even shift the whole thing over at that point. And then start stitching. Yeah, her chest and belly. I think, yeah, her head is all done, yes, from the last pass. So we might even get some of the peacock's tail feathers past her. We'll see what happens. Yeah, I didn't get as much stitching done the last couple days because I was watching the coverage of the European Championships of figure skating. So I was knitting. So I knit like another 3 squares. I need 20 to complete the blanket I'm making. So I'm getting there slowly but surely. Yeah, so this I can see. I'm going to have multiple threads, I think. Yeah. Okay, so. Yeah, so I'm going to park this down here, and I might change it and park it somewhere else later, depending on when threads run out from other colors there. But for now, that's what I'm going to do. And then this one was short, so I'm going to start a new thread for some more that's up there. Yeah. This is a color that's kind of scattered around quite a bit. So yeah, I'll stitch that, and then I'm going to stitch downwards from there. Like I said, I just felt like starting in the middle last time. Kept having my needle oriented the wrong way. It's like when you're trying to plug in a USB, get it wrong, you flip it over, it's still wrong, you flip it over, and then it's right. It's like, so it was right the first time, but for some reason didn't work. Yeah, I don't know why. Okay, put that there. All right, so again, I've got more than one thread of this color part, so that's pretty long. Oh, as is that one, so yeah. I'll end up with some leftover bits later, it looks like. Just gonna unthread that for now because I think it's gonna be a bit of time before I get to that color again. All right, I can see again this branches off and diverges a bit, so I'm going to use probably multiple threads there as well. Let's see what I've got to work with. Oh, goodness. Darn it, yeah. Dropped my thread. Yeah, so like I said, this was a high confetti area, so yeah. Usually I'd have 100 stitches done by now, but not today because I have been having to change colors a lot. Okay, so actually I'm going to kind of go meander in an odd way for a bit. Because I have some shorter pieces that I will use later for the smaller area. Oops, that's no good. All right. Okay, so I'm going to do those. Yeah, to keep from closing in too much. So be careful, this grid line's sort of getting pulled over to the side, so make sure that doesn't confuse me. Yeah, one of the drawbacks of sewn on grid lines, but yeah, like I said, I bought a whole bolt of fabric before I realized pre-gridded fabric. Actually, I should continue one more stitch down here. Yeah, before I realized pre-gridded fabric was a thing. So yeah, I'm not going to waste it because it wasn't cheap. So yeah, I find too, the pre-gridded fabric, the widest I could find it was 43 inches, which was from Wool Warehouse. Yeah, and this was a 60-inch wide, and nobody sells 60-inch wide pre-gridded, at least not that I have been able to find. So, yeah. And some of my pieces were big enough that I did require, yeah, 60 inches. Because I didn't want to split up the picture in the middle, which is an option people can do, but yeah. I wanted it all on one piece, so it meant a little extra work, but I was willing to do it. Yeah, like I said, I don't usually sit down and do all of the gridding at once. I usually, oops, that's no good. I usually, I mark off my borders, and then when I grid, I sort of do one line a night. And then it takes, you know, 3 or 4 months, but that's usually while I've got another project that's going on. So yeah, and these projects take like a minimum of 2 years. So yeah, I have no problem finishing the gridding before it's time to start the next piece. Yeah, although in the summer, last summer, I actually did a whole bunch of gridding at once because we were renovating and everything was packed away. I didn't really have a space to set up my stitching spot, so yeah. I did a lot of gridding, and then I did nothing but gridding for a few days, which was a pain, but it's done. Yeah, and I did finally set up a stitching spot downstairs. But like I said, I missed out on a few days of stitching from that because we were busy. Yeah, I think my new carpet has finally stopped shedding so many fuzzies. Yeah, because I was finding when I was vacuuming the floor, like half of it was carpet fluff because it was brand new. Yeah, it was a lot thicker than our old carpet, so my husband had to shave the bottom of the doors down and repaint. But it's very nice. Yeah, nice and plush. I was glad that was done because that was something we'd been meaning to do for years. Kind of like since we'd moved in, which was in 2006. Yeah. So. But yeah, like they say, it's always harder to do those things when you're living in the house, right? It's best to do them before you move in and it's empty. It's much easier than working around your furniture and all that. Yeah, because we had to move everything out, sleep in the guest room. Our son had to sleep in the living room for like 3 weeks while we did those. And then we had to move everything back and then do the living room. Yeah. It is a pain. Yeah, I was saying I'm gonna have to go and get a new oven now too. This old one is done, I think. Well, I think it might be original to the house, which was built in 74. It might not, but it was already old when we moved in 2006. Yeah. It had only one rack. I don't know what happened to the second one because I think they standard come with two. So I don't know what happened, but we never had more than one rack in there. And so that could make things interesting when you're trying to cook a big meal like for Christmas dinner. Yeah. And then one of the elements didn't want to turn on for the stovetop, one of the burners. And then another one, it's you can't turn it on partway. It's now either red hot max heat or nothing. Yeah, I just about destroyed one of my frying pans. And yeah, I was thinking like, why is this chicken like practically smoking? I have it only on 4 out of 10. And then I kind of looked underneath and like, this coil is red hot. Like it shouldn't be. And so yeah, that was when I discovered that, yeah, it's all or nothing. So, and yeah, just things like that. And setting the oven temperature, it's a big pain too. The dial is kind of touchy, so it'll be like 300 and you're trying to turn it up just a little bit and it'll jump to like 475, and then you try to turn it down just a little bit and it'll jump back down to 300, and it's like there's a lot of temperatures between those two, you know. I wanted 325. Yeah. Yeah, in fact, I remember when my husband and I were first dating, my husband's youngest 4 siblings were still at home. Yeah. And one of the daughters, my mother-in-law was always asking her to set the temperature for her because she said for some reason she knew the trick of it because the same thing, it was very jumpy and she was the only one who seemed to be able to get it precisely where you wanted. Yeah. Yeah, we had to replace our fridge in, I think it was 2020. Yeah. I discovered when I went to scoop up some frozen yogurt and it was like almost, it wasn't frozen properly. It was almost half melted. It was like, okay, I think this thing's done. And same thing, that was a super old fridge. I don't know if it was original to the house, but it was like, it had to be at least 20, 25 years old. So yeah, it had to go. So yeah, my husband is away out of town this week, so I'll probably go next week to go look at stoves and order one. And I had to remember to measure it because there's counter on either side, so yeah, it needs to be fit. Because I kind of Googled, like, are all ovens standard size? And it was like, no, standard size is anywhere between 27 inches and 33 inches, so yeah. Ours is 30, so yeah. I had to find my tape measure, which is it's not a stiff one, it's a fabric tape measure, yeah. And I had a hard time finding one. I said, it's so irritating. I bought like half a dozen of them at the dollar store so that I could always have one available. But of course, yeah, there's never any when you need it, right? I said, well, I should just go and buy some more and then they'll turn up, right? Yeah. Well, people borrow them and don't bring them back. And same thing, because our fridge was built with cupboards all around it, including above, so we had to measure and make sure we didn't buy a fridge that was too tall to fit in that alcove. Yeah. Yeah, I said, they don't make things like they used to. Someone said their parents still have a fridge they bought when they were a baby, and they're like, you know, 35. And yeah, nothing lasts that long anymore. Might as well do this. Since it is connected on top, so. Yeah, so we finally passed 100, but yeah, a bit slower going. Okay, so so yeah, my husband was saying that his traveling should slow down after next summer. Yeah. But yeah, like I said, they're switching a lot of stuff over to new equipment, so those are things he can't do remotely. He has to actually physically change out the machines and stuff, so yeah. And he's responsible for several stations, so. Plus all the normal, you know, maintenance and things breaking that also need to be taken care of, so yeah. Such is life, right? Yeah, I was actually surprised during lockdown in 2020 how much he was able to get done remotely. Yeah, he said it kind of sucked because he had to go up to Northwest Territories, and he'd never been there before, but he couldn't even, you know, do any tourist stuff because, yeah, everything was on lockdown. And it's considered a vulnerable community, so there was extra paperwork he had to do, and yeah, basically he could go between his hotel and his workplace. He even had to have food delivered. He couldn't even go, yeah, like to restaurants, so. Yeah, he said it kind of sucked, right? I've never been here. I'd love to walk around and, you know, check things out, but yeah, couldn't, so. Yeah, it was funny because one of his coworkers had a can of haggis. Apparently you can buy it canned, yeah. Like he never opened it. It was just like, because he went to Scotland, and so he bought it as like a souvenir. But yeah, he sent it a picture and said, you know, you'll never guess what my coworker has. It said a can of haggis. And I said, yeah, but is it irradiated though? Because we're big Red Dwarf fans. Yeah, so you'll know the reference if you know that one. 4,691 irradiated haggis. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. It's like I remember there was a few years ago they did Thanksgiving dinner in a can, and it was like a layer of cranberry sauce, a layer of stuffing, a layer of turkey, a layer of potatoes, and yeah. They don't make it anymore. I think they only made it for that 1 year as like a novelty thing. Yeah. Yeah, Thanksgiving dinner in a can. Oh. I'm like, yeah, that kind of sucks if you don't like one of those ingredients, right? Like if you're not a stuffing person. Yeah. Which I'm not. It's funny because my son absolutely loves stuffing, and I said, but he complains about foods being too mushy. Like, he will happily eat the vegetables I put in soup if they're raw. He doesn't like them cooked. But he'll eat stuffing, and I'm like, but stuffing is basically just mushy bread. How come you like it? He's like, I don't know, I just do. So I Guess we all have our weird quirks, right? And it's funny because texture like that, like having soft vegetables from them being cooked, doesn't bug me, but I don't know, the stuffing is not my thing. I don't like it because it is mushy bread. Okay, just barely got 2 stitches of that. Yeah, there's a third one there, but there's no way this thread is going to be able to reach over to it and stitch it as well, so. Okay. Oops. Oh, that's no good. So yeah, slowly filling in that indentation. Yeah, I'm doing more drawing them across the back because, like I said, it's going to get into lighter colors there. So I'm not going to pin stitch in that area. Yeah, and some bright colors as well, as you can see. Yeah, for her neck. So yeah, I'm probably going to finish this, finish all that. I'll probably start doing the paler bits of her chest and belly, and then I will be filling in the bright blue because, yeah, that blue is so bright that I don't want the fuzzies of it to get pulled up into the white. Yeah, I find especially with a really vibrant, bright color like that, it can be a real pain. I spend a lot of time picking fluffies out of the white, and so I'll do the white part first. Yeah, sometimes, like I said, I had to do this darker coming up to the white so that I didn't want to leave a big gap and not, so I couldn't really avoid it. But yeah, when it comes to that section, I have the option to do the darker first or the lighter first and then the darker. So that is why I'm going to pick the lighter color first and avoid the bright peacock blues being pulled into the white and other very pale blues, and I think even some yellows and tans. Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of times on these patterns, areas may look white, but it's actually a lot of other colors. Other colors, very pale colors, sort of creating that illusion of white. Sometimes there's actually very few white stitches among it. That's what I discovered on the lighter part of the peacock's wings. Yeah, there was a lot more very pale tan and yellow and such, and even some very pale pink and blue, and not very many white stitches. Yeah, the actual white part was more the left-hand corner where the clouds were. Yeah, the ones I originally stitched in the wrong color. Which is why I had to restart this project. Yeah, it was the first time I had to do that. Restart a project because I blew it. Or I often say, are you even a stitcher if you don't have a story like that, right? Yeah, one of my friends, she started her stitching and then it was sideways because the piece she was doing was, wider than tall, and she had the thing oriented the wrong way. And she undid it and then started it again and did it sideways again. And then she said, finally the third time I got it right. But my gosh. Yeah, what a pain. Fortunately, she discovered it fairly early on in the process, because yeah, I saw one where somebody had done like 3 or 4 pages worth of stitching before discovering it, and it wasn't a pattern that they could really crop. Yeah. So it's like, oh, I felt so bad for them. And I think it was even a max color pattern they were doing too, so yeah. Okay. Here we go. Yeah, so as you see, I do some building out from the bottom and some building from the top until the whole thing is filled in. But I think I will take a break soon. Yeah. So that is almost entirely filled in and smoothed out, squared off. Is a knot. Actually, I was pretty lucky this session. It's the first one I got. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, I think maybe that's my cue to quit for the day. It starts knotting up on me. So yeah, thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope to see you here next time. Thanks everyone. Bye.